Let's talk about different shades of white. We have our plain stark white, which is pure, kind of like this shirt that I'm wearing. And then in the world of painting, we have cooler whites and warmer whites. And, sometimes it can make us wonder and just get a little confused in what do we use. So let me show you how I make some of my versions. And then we're gonna lay them up on here so you can kind of see the difference. So let's slide over here. And here's my pure white. I buy the big buckets. And this is, if you know me now, I don't use white paint so much. I just get the white gesso. It's so close. And let me grab some of the pure white here, gesso. So you can see, it's kind of like the white color of my shirt, just pure white. And then from there, we don't typically stay there in the world of painting because we have to harmonize everything. And so now I'm going to take some of this, separate it out. All right. So here I'm going to make what I use as my overall general cooler white by putting in a little bit of Payne's gray. So let's take some of that. And watch, I always start with such a tiny amount. And in fact, that might be too much. So I'm just going to lay it here because I don't want to change the color. I want it to still appear white. And you could see it's quite a difference. All right. So this is it's Payne's gray, if you don't know, is just black mixed with ultramarine blue. And all I'm going for here is taking that starkness out of the white. But that's not all that I use. Let me wipe this. I use a little bit of raw umber dark, or just a dark brown. And again, this is too much, so we're just going to put it here. And I usually will have to do it a couple of times to get that shade that I'm going for, where all I want in this case is that starkness to be taken out of the white. That I don't want it so bright. So I'm going to go back and forth with just mixing. And this one makes it look slightly blue, but it's cooling it down. Bringing back in some of that raw umber dark. And essentially for me, a cool white leans more into the gray area. Like it could go gray if it's getting a little darker. And that's all that I want. And you may even think after mixing your paint, you may go, oh shoot, that's not white. Technically it's not. And if you compare it to other whites, it is not going to look white. However, when you use it in paintings and that is the lightest color that you use, it is going to look white. And so it's all relative. And I think I might even want to add just a hint more. Just to make sure that you can actually see the difference. Okay, so now they are both whites, but if you look at it, it is not the same shade as that. It's taken down a notch, right? You can see that. Even on camera, you can see that. I'm going to add just a hint more of this raw umber dark. All right. Just making sure right here. And I think technically I generally like it a little stronger on the Payne's gray side than on the brown, because brown can lean into warm And if I'm making a cool white, I definitely want it to feel on the cooler side. So we're gonna leave that one there. And so this is our pure white. Now let's mix a warm white. So the first thing I do is I'll put a little yellow ochre in there. And let's get it off over here. And then I don't stop at that. I'm going to use a little Hansa yellow light. And so I just happen to have this one in a fluid paint. So I'm going to drip a few drops here. And I know you're probably thinking, what? That is like yellow, like bright yellow. You could also use CAD yellow light for that. And it brings some of that brightness in, but we're not using nearly that amount. So this one changes it relatively quick. And I may have even put a little too much, but let's wipe some of this off here. Some of the yellow ochre, and then I'm just gonna come in and mix. All right, so you can see a difference right away. That was much easier to mix up. That is definitely warmer, and you could see a difference between these two and also up against the pure white. So if you want to make it a little richer, and this may tip it over for me because I put a lot of that yellow ochre in, but the Hansa yellow light is gonna brighten it up. And I'm not afraid of that. It just adds like another layer of richness to the color. So let's just put a hint more. Now this has gone too far. So I'm gonna show you what I do in that case. This is more, I could still argue that it's white, and if I use it in a painting where this is the lightest color, but it's harmonized with everything, it's gonna tell our eye that it's white. So it's not that big of a deal, but all I'm gonna do is bring in some more white paint, and let's see if that brings it down more in range. Some colors, the pigmentation is much stronger, so it doesn't require as much to bring the color to where we want. Okay, now that is much better. That looks like a creamy ivory color white, you can see, compared to this pure white. And this one now, in relation to this, you can see it's a cooler white, and this is a warmer white. So let's see what they look like on canvas. All right, so I'm gonna take this with my paintbrushes, and we're gonna put some of the pure white, and I know this has lines on it. I just do this on old, some canvases that this one was given to me by somebody who decided not to paint anymore. I'll take it. All right, so this is just the pure gesso on here, and you can see once I put it on, you really can't tell where it is, and it's as pure as it gets. So now I'm going to take the cool white, and I want to lay them actually next to each other and also next to that. So I'm going to come right up against here. All right, look what happens to that cool white. You can tell as soon as I put it on there, like it's not white when you compare it to the actual canvas and the white paint. It looks gray. And so that's where sometimes we get tripped up. It looks gray, but it's not. Technically it is. But here's the thing to keep in mind, because everything is relative. If this is the lightest color that I put on my canvas, it's gonna make the eye think it's white. And that's what we're going for. Yet it's not so stark white that it looks out of place. And that's the whole point of this. So let's take the warm white and let's put that next to those two. Now you can see this one is different. I've got it right up against the white on top, and I've got it next to that cooler white. And it is much thicker on the top than it is on the bottom. So let me see if I could even this out so you get a better view. All right. So you can see the difference here. Pure white gesso or pure white paint if you're using the titanium white. And this is the cool white and this is the warm white. Now, they don't look white when you've got them next to each other compared to that and compared to the canvas, but they are tools for when you are painting and you just simply bring in a warm or a cold, depending on what you want to highlight in your painting. Sometimes we've got a lot of cold colors in the painting and we need to bring in a warmer one to balance it, or the opposite. And depending on what you're doing and all of that, you're going to make that decision as an artist. We use these like tools. And when the painting is said and done, believe it or not, all of these are going to look white if they are the lightest colors on your canvas. So give that a try, and next time you're making white, see what would work best for you.